Today, I'm going to be reading Chapter 16 of Ground Zero by Alan Gratz. This chapter is titled, The Cedars of Afghanistan. "Give that back," Bassoon cried, and he lunged for his plastic airplane. Rashmina was too fast for him. She held it above her head and twisted away, when Bassoon made another grab for it. "Give it to me," Bassoon commanded. "You're just a girl. You have to do what I tell you." "I'm not a girl. I'm your sister," Rashmina shot back, which somehow made sense. Bassoon swiped for the plane again, and Rashmina danced out of the way. "You can't tell the Taliban about Taz," Rashmina told her brother. "We gave him Anselm." "Taz?" Bassoon said. Rashmina blushed. "That's his name, the American soldier. And you can't give him refuge and take revenge on him at the same time." "See if I can't," Bassoon told her. "Badal as a Patswuli as a Nanawati." Bassoon grabbed for the airplane, but Rashmina was too quick for him again. "The Taliban don't respect Patswuli," Rashmina said. "They've killed just as many Afghans as Americans have." When was the last time we had peace?" Bassoon asked. "Under the Taliban, that's when. They ended the Civil War." "The Taliban killed whole families for no reason," Rashmina told him, feeling a flash of frustration. "They made women wear burqas and locked them away in their houses." "They give people jobs," Bassoon argued. "Darwash and Aman told me." "Darwash and Aman? Darwash and Aman?" Rashmina taunted in a sing-song voice. "Darwish and Aman told me to jump off a mountain, so I did it." "Do you ever have a thought that Darwish and Aman didn't give you first?" Bassoon's expression turned stormy. "All right, here's my own thoughts, Rashmina. Do you think I'm going to be able to afford to get married herding goats that have nothing to eat and growing crops in a never-ending drought?" "No," he said. "Why should I starve when the Taliban pay 20 times what I can make working for myself? They're killers, Bassoon. If you join them, you'll become one too," Rashmina said flatly. "Have you forgotten who killed the person who gave me that plane?" Bassoon said, pointing to the toy. He sounded calmer now, more resolute, as though arguing with Rashmina had talked him into joining the Taliban, not out of it. "The Americans dropped a bomb on her sister," Rashmina said, "on her wedding day." Rashmina tried to fight off that awful memory, but it came flooding back to her, overwhelming her. The day had started as one of the happiest days of Rashmina's life. Her sister Hila had been 16 and promised in marriage to a boy from a neighboring village. It was a tradition to escort the bride to the house of her new family, where the wedding would take place, and the procession was always a party. Rashmina's whole village had turned out for the parade. Married couples walked arm in arm, and young people sang and danced and fired rifles in the air. Rashmina and Bassoon had been 9 years old. They chased each other around the adults, laughing and squealing at the top of their lungs. Rashmina had finally caught Bassoon and paused to catch her breath. That's when Rashmina heard it, an angry buzz like a hornet's nest. She and Bassoon had looked up at the same time, searching the sky for the source of the sound. Rashmina saw it now in her mind's eye, as clear and sharp as she had seen it that day. An American drone high in the sky. It was sleek and gray, with wide wings like an eagle and a tail like a fish. She and Bassoon had watched it as it flew closer and closer, coming up behind the wedding procession. Something small and black detached from the drone and streaked out towards the front of the parade, towards her sister in her beautiful wedding dress, surrounded by all her friends. Rashmina remembered the whoosh of the missile, the gray trail of smoke behind it, and then Rashmina turned away, feeling the heat of the blast on her face all over again as she stood here in the mountains with Bassoon 2 years later. Now that she was older, she understood what happened. The happy gunshots of the wedding procession had registered as an attack on an American airplane flying so high so high up that none of them had seen it or heard it. But that had been enough for the American soldiers in some 10 miles away, somewhere to fire a missile at them with a drone. If the Americans can't be here without killing innocent people, they must leave the valley, Bassoon told her now. Otherwise, they will be jihad. Rashmina understood her brother's anger. She felt it too, but a holy war wasn't the answer. So you're going to leave our family, enjoy the Taliban, Rashmina said. Leave me. Bassoon swallowed. Yes, and not because Darwish and Aman told me to, because I want to. Rashmina nodded. She had known this day was coming, but a part of her wanted to pretend that things would never change, that she and Bassoon would be young and happy and carefree forever. But they were both growing up fast, too fast. A chill went through her, like a winter wind cutting through her shawl. Bassoon chose the moment to dive forward, not for the toy plane, but for Rashmina. He tackled her to the ground and tried to pin her to take the plane away. Rashmina kicked and grunted, but there she was, quick. Bassoon was strong. She tossed the plane away instead. Bassoon scrambled over her, trying to get at the toy, and Rashmina grabbed his foot. Bassoon fell flat on his face in the dirt, and Rashmina ran and snatched up the plane before he could get to it. Ha! Rashmina cried, and she held the little plane in the air triumphantly. Bassoon stood, and Rashmina was shocked to see tears in his eyes. She wanted to make him mad, not sad. She suddenly felt terrible for taking the toy away from him. Keep it, then, Bassoon said. He kicked a rock in Rashmina's direction, a little of the old anger overriding his sadness, and then he turned and walked away. Rashmina's heart broke. As twins, she and Bassoon knew exactly how to hurt each other, but they had always known where the line was. And when they'd crossed it, Bassoon, Rashmina called, following behind. Bassoon, I'm sorry. Bassoon didn't want to listen, and Rashmina trailed along behind him in silence. There was a graveyard on the other side of the mountain, and it matched their quiet mood as they walked through it. Hundreds of stone mounds dotted the hillside. The larger ones were for men and women. The smaller ones belonged to children and babies. Some of the rock piles had colorful blankets on them, mementos left by loved ones for the recently buried. Over others bent tall wooden poles and ragged green flags on top, marking the graves of people who had died fighting against jihad against the Soviet Union when Rashmina's parents were children. In some places, the stones were scattered as low, and it was hard to tell if there had been a grave there at all. So many dead Afghans, Rashmina said quietly. But soon, if you join the Taliban, you're just going to end up dead and buried under a pile of rocks somewhere. So I should wait around to die in our village like our sister, Bassoon said without looking at her, without stopping, like Barlas, like the old Nazania, like Uncle Meher. Baba's leg was torn up by the landmine just clearing a field for planting. If I'm going to die one way or another, I might as well die fighting. For revenge, Rashmina said bitterly. For freedom, Bassoon told her. Everyone invades and tries to tell us how to live our lives. The Greeks, the Mongols, the British, the Soviets, and the Americans. The Taliban, Rashmina added. The Taliban are Afghans. Yes, but they only became powerful because they were supported by foreigners, Rashmina said. She had learned about it in school. People from Pakistan and from Saudi Arabia who wanted to tell us how to live, and invaders always beat us so easily because they have better weapons than we do. Greek shields, Mongol bows, British cannons, Soviet gunships, Taliban rockets, American drones, Bassoon added. Yes, American drones, Rashmina said, feeling a pang of sorrow for Hila all over again. But you know why we're always behind. Because while everyone else in the world is making things, we're fighting wars. We never get to move ahead, Bassoon. We're stuck in the past. Infidels and outsiders may conquer us, Bassoon, still looking ahead, but they can never rule us. Conquering Afghanistan and keeping it are two different things. Rashmina huffed. Bassoon wasn't listening to her. Why would anyone want to rule Afghanistan? She asked, frustrated. There's nothing left to rule. Rashmina saw a dried-up old cedar cone on the ground and picked it up. Once their father had told them giant cedars towered over every kilometer of these mountains. Anad told stories of the streets in the capital, Kabul, lined with cedar trees. Now those trees were all but gone. Each invading army had cut down more and more of them, and the Afghans had cut down still more to pay for weapons to drive the invaders out. Now Afghanistan was brown and rocky and dead. The only cedars left in the most inhospitable mountains, places where even enemies feared to go. Is there some life left in this old cedar cone? Rashmina wondered. Something dormant inside ready to sprout if given the room and the resources to grow. Rashmina broke open the cone. There were still seeds inside. She took one, leaned over, and pushed the seed deep into the ground. That seed would grow to be a cedar tree 50 meters tall and stand for 1,000 years if only everyone would let it. But soon, Rashmina said, what if there was another way? What if? But when she looked up, Bassoon was gone. That's all for today. Thank you for listening.